Dear students, welcome to our series on ethical case studies. So, this would be ethical case study number 12 in the series of discussion. So, with this case study, I would be completing the case studies that has been asked both in Civil Service Examination 2022 as well as in the Civil Service Examination 2021. So, I am Babu Gunashekaran. I take up ethical case studies. So, probably in the future, I will also take up some of the portions in ethics as a free lecture for the students to help you in preparing for the ethics paper 4. I have also secured an IAS rank in Civil Service Examination 2016. All right. So, with that information, let us just proceed quickly to the case study that has been asked in the Civil Service Examination 2021, an interesting case, a case of a classic ethical dilemma that you as an officer may have to face in the government. So, I would say this particular topic is related to a case where ethical concerns and dilemmas in government. So, as a government officer, I am very sure that students, whenever they will get into the service, each and every aspirant who enters into the government service at one time or the other, they may have to go through such ethical dilemmas and concerns, where you may feel that something is ethically wrong, but you may have to do that, or you feel that it is legally right, but it is ethically wrong. You do not want to do something, but you are forced to do such things. So, this is something that UPSC is also trying to test under such a circumstances, how the aspirants will react and what is the personality traits, how are they going to decide. So, to test all those things, certain case studies are presented to the students, and based on your reaction to those case studies, UPSC is trying to assess your personality, UPSC is trying to assess as to what is your attitude, UPSC is trying to assess your character, UPSC is trying to assess the values that you have. And that is basically the idea behind this case study. So, all right, let us just get into the case study that was asked in Civil Service Examination 2021. So, what is the case is all about? The case is all about that you have to put yourself in this particular position, that you are a project manager of a particular project. And what is the project is all about? This project is all about constructing an elevated corridor in a city. And the reason as to why this elevated corridor, the elevated corridor is just like an overbridge to reduce the traffic congestion in that particular city, which is also the capital city of the state. That means it's a very important project, and you have been specifically handpicked as a project manager because of your expertise and your competence and your experience in these cases. So, that is why you have been picked as a project manager. That means you are a very important person in this particular project. And if you see, the deadline of this particular project was fixed as 30th of June 2021. So, which is given in the case study itself. So, 30th of June 2021 is the deadline which you will have to complete this particular project, which is 2 years from now approximately. And because now you are starting the project and 30th of June is 2021 is 2 years from now, and by the time you will have to complete this project, because the Chief Minister himself is planning to inaugurate this project. And why the Chief Minister is planning to inaugurate this particular project and why this completion date? It is because by the second week of July, so that information also given, by the second week of July, probably the notification for the next election might come. So, just before the election, the Chief Minister wanted to do this. And hence, here you can understand that the completion date of this particular project becomes very, very crucial. And what happens? An inspection team is carrying out a random inspection, which is reporting to you. The inspection team has a random inspection, and during the inspection, to the surprise of the inspection team, there was a minor crack in one of the piers, possibly due to the poor material that is used. A pier means it's a pillar like structure and the surrounding area. So, there is a minor crack that was identified by the inspection team. So, the inspection team comes to you as a project manager, the inspection team apprise you of this, and you also feel that there is a possibility of use of some materials which are substandard in quality, that might be the reason for this particular crack. And then what you do is you make further investigation, and you found at least there are 3 piers which are required to be reworked. In fact, they need to be demolished and there is a need for rework, which may delay the work by 4 to 6 months, because you feel not only in this particular pair, but also in the other pairs there are some problems. So, they have to be reworked. So, that will give a longevity to this particular project, that would eliminate any untoward consequences out of this particular project, but that would take 4 to 6 months of extension as per your initial assessment. So, what you have done is you have stopped all the work and you have informed the same to your chief engineer, who is your reporting boss. So, then you are conveying this to your chief engineer. The chief engineer, then how the chief engineer reacts? The chief engineer overruled the observation by the inspection team and suggested you to overlook the same, as it is a minor crack and no way it will affect the strength and durability of the bridge. So, chief engineer is the boss. So, you are bringing this to the notice of the chief engineer. The chief engineer is saying that I have gone through this. So, this crack is a very minor crack. It is no way going to affect the durability and the strength of the bridge, and hence you can ignore this and you can move forward. And this is the reaction of the chief engineer. The chief engineer also further informed that the minister concerned does not want any delay in the project, because now the chief engineer reports to the minister, and the minister in charge of this particular department has already conveyed to the chief engineer that the deadline of this particular project has to be, it should be followed in strict adherence, because the chief minister himself is going to inaugurate this particular project. So, the minister who is under the chief minister wanted the project to be completed on time, so that would enable the chief minister to complete this particular project on time. Okay, so this is what is the chief engineer is conveying. And further, the chief engineer also gave the information that the contractor, because the government is constructing this building by giving it to a contractor. So, the contractor, the chief engineer also gives this information to you as a project manager, that the contractor whom you feel might have used some substandard material is a relative to the minister. It is a far relative to the minister. And also he suggests that the ministry is also considering you to be promoted as a additional chief engineer of our department. So, all these informations are given to the project manager. So, please understand, now what is the entire issue? The project manager understands there is something, that there is a issue in his assessment, and he brings it to the notice of the chief engineer. The chief engineer tells that you can ignore these things because it is a minor crack. So, on his experience he is saying that nothing is going to happen, it is not going to have any consequence, it is not going to affect the strength and the life of the bridge. And at the same time he is saying that there should not be any delay in the project, because the chief minister has to inaugurate this on time and the elections are coming. And then the second thing is, you cannot take anything against the contractor also. The contractor is a relative of the minister of this particular department. And then under all these circumstances, because of your good work, the department is also thinking, the minister is also thinking you to promote you as an additional chief engineer. So, why do you have to take risk at this point of time? This is what is the information from the chief engineer side. But the project manager, so who, you are the project manager here, but the project manager however strongly feels that the minor crack in the pier will affect the health and life of the bridge, and therefore dangerous if not repaired. So, he feels that there could be dangerous consequences. So, under such a circumstances, you will have to decide. Now, I would say this is a classic example of ethical concerns and dilemmas. On the one hand, it is a politically very important project. On the other hand, you can also personally benefit out of this if the project is completed on time. There is a promotion that is pending that may come to you at any point of time once the project is completed, but you are also looking into the other side of the issue, the consequences if the project and the cracks and the work is not addressed, the substandard work is not addressed. So, this is a classic example of what? This is a classic example of ethical dilemma and concerns. So, under these circumstances, what are the various directives? Now, let us quickly look into the directives. Alright, so look into the directives, but before that, here you can understand that for the month of September, StudyIQ has launched its prelims to interview batches, which are likely to start from 22nd of September. And these batches would be evening batches, they start at 6 p.m. And the batches, as I suggest, prelims to interview batch. So, you can download the brochure from the StudyIQ website, and you can see the number of features in these courses. And the courses are available in different languages. And if you are interested in purchasing these courses and to get an additional discount on these courses, you can use my code Babu. All right. So with that, let us just move forward. Let us try to understand as to what are the various directives given in the question. So see the directives given in the question. Under the given conditions, what are the options available to you as a project manager? So what are the options that is available to you? What will you do? 2. What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by the project manager? Ethical dilemma means putting him in a position of fix. He is not sure as to what is a course of action to decide. That is what is an ethical dilemma. And then a third directive. So what are the professional challenges likely to be faced by the project manager and his responses to overcome such challenges? So in the course, what are the various professional challenges he might face and how he may overcome all those things? What can be the consequences of overlooking the observation raised by the inspection team? The inspection team has already cautioned. So if you overlook all those things as suggested by the chief engineer, what are the possible consequences? So this is what we'll have to understand. So who are the stakeholders in this particular case? Very quickly, if you assess the stakeholders, the stakeholders involve your inspection, yourself and the inspection team who have reported to you, and then the chief engineer and the contractor. Apart from that, the minister concerned of the particular department, and then the chief minister, and then the general public, because whatever happens, if any unfortunate incident happens, it is going to affect the public. If there is a rework, if there is a repair again, that is going to affect the public money. So it is better to, if there is some problem, to address it right now, because in the future the cost escalation may be high, and again it can to repair, you'll have to again you'll have to shut down the operations, and then it can again cause a lot of traffic, which also affect the general public. So the general public is definitely a very important stakeholder, irrespective of whatever happens in this case. All right. So these are the various stakeholders. Now, what are the various possible options available to you as a project manager? Just think about it. Now, what are the various options? Not necessarily every option should be a very good option. So, what are the various options that you can do under these circumstances? All right. So, I'll give few options, but I suggest the students not to restrict only to these things. You can think independently, and you can also put your suggestions in the comment box as well. So, now let us see. So, under the given conditions, what are the options available to you as a project manager? So, see the first option that it is given here. So, listen to the suggestion which is given by the chief engineer. So, because the chief engineer has given some suggestions, so listen to the suggestion, as he is not only having more experience, but the project is politically very important and his promotion is also under consideration. So, here what you have to note, the thing you have to notice, what are the, under the given conditions, what are the options available to you as a project manager? So, they are not asking to assess you or to evaluate these options, just write the options, that is more than sufficient. But for the better understanding, I am just giving few assessment of the options. So, listening to the chief engineer, because the chief engineer might have more experience, maybe that the project manager and the inspection team are not as experienced as the chief engineer, maybe he is right. So, that is one thing. And at the same time, by following his advice, his promotion, he can get the promotion. This will not annoy the chief minister, because politically it is very important. So, thinking all these things, he can listen also. But then the negative part of this is, what if the untoward incident happens subsequently? What if there is a damage in the bridge? What if innocent lives are lost? That could be a very serious ethical concern. All right, that's the drawback of this. Now, convince the chief engineer to carry out the rework, but at the same time guarantee him. So, what you are guaranteeing is that, but at the same time guarantee him that the project may be completed on time by putting the extra man resources at work. So, what you are telling to your chief engineer is that please let us rework on this. You try to convince him, but what is the biggest problem that you are thinking is that, yes, the project may not be completed on work. So, let us try to complete the project on work. Let us put more manpower to this, and we'll work and we'll try to complete the project, so that the chief minister will not be affected because of this. But definitely we cannot put the people at risk. Definitely we cannot put the entire project at risk, and that can bring bad name to the party also in the future. Okay. So, this is one thing that you can do. All right. Yes, this is seems to be a good option. And then prepare a detailed report about the cracks in the piers, and then the possible consequences of ignoring them in writing, and forward it to the chief engineer and the minister concerned, and put the ball in their court. So this is something that you are doing it very smart. So smartly what you are doing, you are not concerned about the consequences. You are personally protecting yourself. So what you are personally, how you are personally protecting yourself, you are putting everything in written, and then you are telling that if you tell me in written, they will go forward, because these are the observations. So here you are fixing an accountability upon them in case of the untoward incidences and the consequences. Okay, so this is also not a I would say the best option, but yes, this is also a decently a fair enough good option. Or in other, the last thing that you can do is you can submit your resignation and submit the report to the media. So because you are not happy with this, so you are submitting your resignation because you feel that this is something which is wrong. So, submitting your resignation, and at the same time you are submitting the information to the media. So, this is also at an extreme case, you can do that. But although the question does not ask you what is the best option or give the good option, but what could be the best course of action? If you ask me the best course of action, the first thing is I would say that you will have to try to convince the manager, the chief engineer here, to go for the rework, and if he is accepting, it is all right, because anyways as per the case itself, the minister's far relative is a contractor. So, the minister can give a direction to the contractor to bear the extra expenses and to complete it. And if this is not happening, then probably you will have to put it in writing. And there is a difficulty that even if you put it in writing, they can still go with the project. So, you will have to still stop it because there can be consequences to the innocent lives. So, then probably you will may have to look for the external mechanisms as well, try to prevent the untoward incidents. Okay, so a series of action may be taken, but here what are the options, what are the various possible options, and there is no need to make an assessment also. So now let us move to the next thing. What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by you in the project? So in deciding a number of things, what are the various ethical dilemmas you go across in this particular project? If you see the various ethical dilemmas, so first ethical dilemma I would say is the conflict between your professional responsibilities and the personal gain that you may get from this particular project, or I would say it's a clear case of conflict of interest. When I say it's a clear case of conflict of interest, if you accept and if you are silent as per the suggestion which is given by the chief engineer, so possibly the project will get completed on time, the chief minister will be very happy, so probably you can get the promotion also. So you have everything to gain here. So that's a personal gain, but what is your professional duty, your professional responsibility as per your professional ethics? You will have to do the duty properly. It is not only about the end, it is about the means, whether the project has been completed properly or not, what could be the future consequences if it is not completed. So he cannot be very narrow minded in completing his particular duty. So his professional responsibility is completing the project to the highest efficiency, and that nobody is at risk from that particular project. And it is going to be a very important project because it is to be used on a daily basis. So here there is a conflict between these two things. And then next kind of dilemma that he can come across is the political interest versus the public interest. On the one hand, the political interest is very high because the chief minister wants this project to be inaugurated before the election date is announced. But on the other hand, if to meet the political interest, if he is giving the approval to complete the project, if he is following the suggestions of the chief engineer, then it can affect the public interest. Tomorrow, if any unfortunate incident happens, who is going to lose their life? The innocent life of the public might be lost. And suppose if huge repair work has to be taken again, it can again affect the public because you are going to use the public money for that. Or if you are going to carry out a repair work, then you have to shut down the bridge operations, then again the people will suffer from the traffic issues. So there is a dilemma between the political interest and the public interest. So on the circumstances, the project manager has to decide. Now the next directive that is asked in the question is, what are the professional challenges likely to be faced by the project manager? So what are the various professional challenges? So in carrying out his duty, what are the challenges he is likely to face, and what kind of response he can have to overcome these challenges? So what are the challenges? So the possibility of not accepting the report and change of portfolio. So this is one challenge he may have to face. So probably as a project manager, you are preparing a detailed report and giving it, you are requesting to your chief engineer, that chief engineer is not accepting it. So you are preparing a detailed report, but that report is also rejected. Not just the report is rejected, there is also possibility you might get transferred. You are transferred from this portfolio to some other portfolio by the respective ministry, by the respective minister. So this may happen, but all these things are you are going through because you are performing your duty properly. In the line of duty, you may have to face all those things. Now, how do you overcome this if you are transferred, if your recommendations are not accepted, despite the fact that you are trying to do the right thing? So, no problem, because you are trying to do the right thing. Because you are trying to do the right thing, there may be a situation where you'll have to go through a tough phase, but it's perfectly all right, because you are ultimately doing the right thing, and whatever is your intentions is right, and hence as long as your intentions are right, you don't have to worry about what is happening. So that is how you can motivate yourself. Two, possibility of accepting the report but ask him to complete it on time. This is again a professional challenge. Okay, you are requesting your chief engineer, the project manager is requesting the chief engineer uh, to to carry out the rework, and explaining him all the possible consequences. The chief engineer seems okay with the idea, but the chief engineer strictly tells you that you will have to complete still on the deadline. So you need to pull in extra resources, you will have to put in extra effort. So probably you will have to sacrifice your personal time as well, your personal side of your life might get compromised. That's again a professional challenge, but this challenge you can meet out because the interest of the public is involved, and sometimes at work we'll have to do this. So that is the way that by thinking like that he can overcome those challenges. And then putting his promotion on hold, if something untoward incident happens and if he's also not trying to complete the project on time, his promotion might be at stake, it may be put on hold. So this is something, a challenge that he has to go through. And possibility of disciplinary actions if he prepares a report which is not liked by the minister or by the chief engineer, they can also take disciplinary action against the project manager. Not only that, his promotion is on hold, he may be subjected to disciplinary actions. So these are all various challenges definitely that one has to face in the government services. But how do you overcome? Not in this particular case, not just the project manager, but how do we in general overcome that? In general, we overcome that by having the right set of values and the principles in our life. When I say right set of values and principles, that you'll have to see as to what is the intention and what is the principle that you are following. And if you feel that legally and morally, ethically, if it is the right thing, then at times, even if the consequences are not right, still we'll have to take it and we'll have to move forward. Okay, so that is how I think he can adjust with these areas, because if he is having the right civil service values, he will be able to overcome all those. So what can be the consequences of overlooking the observations raised by the inspecting team? So the inspecting team has given some warning. So what could be the possible consequences of overlooking those things? One is the longevity of the project might be compromised. At any time, you may have to take up the rework and the repair work. So longevity may get affected. Repair and maintenance work unnecessarily, which is an unnecessary burden on the public exchequer. One of the other consequences that if you don't take the measures now, you'll have to unnecessarily carry out the repair work in the future, which is an unnecessary expenditure on the public money. So the money has to be taken from the taxpayers' money. So that is another unnecessary expenditure. In the worst case, loss of innocent lives. You never know, the bridge might collapse sometimes. The structure falls down. So there can lead to, in the worst case, it can lead to the loss of innocent lives. Such unfortunate incident, if the lives are lost, such unfortunate incident might cause irreparable damage to the political party and the minister. Their reputation is also at stake. So this is also very important. So probably these consequences can be explained by the project manager to the concerned chief engineer. And apart from that, even if the project is completed, audit reports and further inquiry both against the politicians and the bureaucrats. In the future, audits might be carried out, and through the audit report, something might come out which can also affect the political party and the minister. So it is a responsibility of the project manager to explain all these consequences. Most importantly, what if the innocent lives are lost? This could hurt the interest of the party and the chief minister himself. So explaining all those things, I think that he has to convince the chief engineer in addressing the cracks in the piers and to take immediate action then and there itself. And at the same time, as far as possible, try to, without compromising the quality of the work, try to complete the project on time. So that would be the best course of action in my opinion. All right. Uh, and also at the same time, try to put the contractor in a blacklist, or try to take appropriate action against the contractor in case if he has used a substandard material which is within his knowledge. Okay, so these are all the various things that has to be addressed in this particular case study. Okay, so with that we are coming to the end of the case studies for the year 2021. So as we will proceed, we will take up the next set of case studies from the Civil Service Examination 2020. Thank you very much for watching this particular case study lectures. All the very best. Thank you very much. God bless.